3 times in our history, an American military force has been utterly annihilated by its enemies. And each time those enemies were Sioux. Surely the sun never shone on a more heroic people, magnificently plumed, uncompromisingly brave, like the eagle. From the cradle to the grave, the Sioux lived to transcend the natural world in which the Great Spirit had placed him. His legacy was liberty. He was born to strength and bred for valor, like the eagle. Yes, this was the Sioux, who in the 19th century was master of that mighty domain stretching from Minnesota to the mountains of the West. This was the eagle culture, which barred the path of westward progress to our young and growing nation. In the years immediately following the war between the states, the Sioux nation was in full flower. Its small villages were strung like gleaming beads across the plains, transient communities of a migratory people who followed the buffalo, their single source of life. Whole families moved with incredible ease to new villages and new hunting grounds, using the horse and the travois to take them and all their worldly goods. These warriors and their families came in peace, bearing the symbol of peace. And so were they received, even as brothers among brothers and children to the chief. The warrior hunted to feed his family and fought to defend them. Anything less than these labors was woman's work. The man selected the site of his teepee, accomplished the ritual that blessed it in the eyes of the Great Spirit, and left the remaining details to the women. Meanwhile, the men of each family new to the village paid their respects to the chief. Before the tall central teepee, with symbols of wisdom and authority spread before it, they smoked the ceremonial pipe together. Tobacco to the Sioux was the fountainhead of fellowship, the sacred substance which softened hearts, making neighbors of men and brothers of neighbors. With this pipe, they created a climate of trust, spoke soundlessly yet eloquently of peace, asking the while that heaven and earth give witness to the bond thus formed. In the summer of 1875, the western villages of the tribe were at peace. War bonnet and lance slept in the thick sunshine, and time, like the clouds, drifted noiselessly by. The squaws dried the meat of yesterday's kill, while their men today were back on the buffalo trail. And the women were busy with other things too, things deeply rooted in the life of the people, things that soothed the eye and warmed the heart. These the women did so that beauty too might reside in the austere fabric of their lives. Above all, it was in beadwork that these women excelled. With the instinct for design and the sensitivity to color peculiar to her race, the Sioux squaw took infinite pains to string an exquisite quality about the most common of household objects. The old people and the children also remained in camp, and one old man kept the winter count. This was a history of the people, used for the instruction of the young. On a buffalo hide were recorded significant events that kept the Sioux in touch with their past and shaped their decisions for the future. But for the Sioux, all decisions, past and present, were bound up with the buffalo. strength that came from this heavenly source, this power greater than themselves, the tribe could not endure. It was during the cool summer nights that the Great Spirit seemed closest to his people. His presence hovered on the fringe of the campfires, drawn there by the drum of the medicine man, who invoked him to bring his infinite strength to bear, that the stricken might be cured. Even the bravest of warriors trembled at the sound of that drum, for this music awoke the unknown, set the troubled forces of the night to brooding, endowed even dead objects with irresistible power. Thus did the medicine man purge the sickness in men, stifling it through fear, grinding it beneath the weight of the night, which only he could wield. The Great Spirit cast other kinds of spells, less terrifying but equally disturbing, in the hearts of even the bravest of warriors. The most common of these was that uncommon sensation called love. The Sioux, whose maidens were by reputation among the loveliest on the plains, had a traditional form of courtship. It occurred most often at the watering place, where the gentle sounds of water could be counted on to lull the beloved's resistance, and the young suitor, so much more skillful in pursuing a buffalo than a bride, could rely on a more expressive instrument to speak for his heart. Traditionally, the Sioux maiden gave no sign of hearing anything more significant than the wistful murmur of the water, the sighing of the wind in the weeds, and perhaps the senseless shrilling of a stray bird. But traditionally, for she was a woman, she had heard quite enough. That sad solo was the prelude to her victory. The warrior received permission to propose to her only after he presented her father with horses stolen from an enemy tribe, and her answer, yes. The day of the wedding feast was set, and now the bride-to-be prepared herself. She bathed in a pure spring-fed lake where so many brides before her had come to be cleansed. And on the morning of her wedding day, they dressed her, placing the lovely moccasins on her feet that her mother had made for this moment.